What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you.
Yeah!
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Wednesday night. We are rolling on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter/X, on Facebook, and on Twitch. It is episode 156 of the Throwdown, and tonight we are throwing down with a Florida-based wrestler, one of the many talents emerging from the Orlando area scene. Ladies and gentlemen, Private Eye, Slade Porter. How you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for the introduction. Now that I got that out of the way, I'm blind as crap, so let me put my glasses on.
Absolutely. So for those of you that are watching this live, if you have any questions or comments, just throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and start, Slade, with the first and the most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
So it's not straight continuous, but in total, it's 7 years now. I had my first match in April of 2015, wrestled up to the pandemic, tried to get some action going late in 2020, and then fell into a lot of wrestlers feel to get that burnout. Realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was at that time, and ended up taking a few years off. Suffered an injury that was completely not wrestling related, so it took some time to rehab myself. Fell in love with other forms of media, such as movies I was watching a lot of, and then when my wife and I moved back down to Orlando, late 2023, all my friends from Florida were asking me like, "Hey, when are you gonna wrestle again?" I was like, "Psh, that's not happening," and they kept asking, and then I was catching that bug, and then spring of last year came back. So I've been back for about a year and a half now. So rounds out to about 7 years now in total.
Nice, nice. So who, it sounds like you've been a few different places, but who all has trained you?
So I'm very open about this.
Okay.
I don't give them any kind of recognition, but I was an Orlando-based wrestler who started out at 18 years old, training in Orlando, and I don't want to say their name, so you can probably figure out who that is. I'm not going to give them any credit for the wrestler I became, and don't recommend anyone goes there, but I have to say I've been very thankful for the mentorship that I did receive from guys such as like the Carnies, Kerry Awful and Nick Iggy along the way when I was first breaking into non-Florida indies, traveling the States. Danny Briggs was a guy who's been there since some of my first matches, and to this day is so helpful in everything I do. Really is that like guiding light for me in wrestling. But then my training for the last year at House of Champions has been paramount to my progress as a wrestler. So Krakoa, Jamie Stanley, Bobby Fish, Bowen now. Shout out Renee too for helping in the marketing aspect. Yeah, that's been great.
You know, I have had a number of people from HOC on the show, and you guys definitely have something very special going on down there. I mean, that is really it just seems like such a tremendous place.
Yeah, wrestling culture has been toxic for decades. So them to not accept that and plant their flag and that we are going to make wrestling better. We're going to set up a culture where everyone does feel safe and welcomed here, but we're still going to work hard. That's been really great to see.
Absolutely. So, in terms of the early portions of your training, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for you to wrap your mind and body around?
So let me start off with this. I was not someone who fell into pro wrestling as a young child and was mystified by the superhero aspect of it. I didn't watch it at 5 years old. My parents didn't show me it. I didn't watch professional wrestling until I was 15, and my friends told me about it. And I did fall in love immediately at that point. But I'd already had this preconceived notion of what wrestling was, of the theatrics, the choreography of it. And so, with that aid in my mind going into wrestling, when I did start my training a few years later, I was able to understand that wrestling wasn't just about the moves, but making those connections with the fans, telling that story. So, I mean, most difficult part was just trying to tell myself, really, like, everywhere you go, you always have to reintroduce yourself to a crowd, because they're not going to know who you are in Indiana just because you're a big deal in Orlando. So never falling back and thinking that I'm it. Like, I got everything. I am everything I need to be, and that helps put the ego in check and allows you to just keep driving forward and trying to not be content.
Absolutely. So, going into professional wrestling, did you have an athletic background? Had you played sports in high school or done any other type of martial art or anything like that?
Here and there, I wasn't this, from Pee Wee all the way through varsity wrestler or football player. Played a lot recreationally with friends, but just didn't fall too much into the aspect of it, doing it, every day, multiple sports every season after school. Like, I grew up, loving sports. Like, played football with my friends, would do a recreational season here and there. I took a little bit of martial arts, like some jujitsu, kickboxing. I did my last season in high school of amateur wrestling. So that probably helped shape, like, the grappling that I feel comes through in my professional wrestling the most. But there wasn't this huge influence. It was just little things to pick from.
Gotcha. So you mentioned that in terms of professional wrestling, you're something of a late bloomer. You sort of came into it as a fan later than a lot of people. So what was your earliest wrestling related memory? What is the first thing you remember seeing about wrestling, and what was it that grabbed you?
So I didn't I didn't get introduced, via the Royal Rumble or some WrestleMania main event, but I remember it clear. It was November of 2011. My buddy said, "Hey, if you want to watch wrestling, just turn on Monday Night Raw, turn on USA Network, I guess, and it's on right now." And it was Mason Ryan versus JTG. Not a match that anyone is going to put in on their Mount Rushmore, but
Hmm.
it hooked me enough. I actually had the fortune to meet JTG at a taping that we did for All Caribbean Wrestling a few months ago, and I told him that story, and he laughed. I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Hey, I have you to thank for my career."
Nice, nice. I've actually had a few folks from All Caribbean on the show, and they have been a great bunch of people. I've had Showtime JB Cool, Bruce Cross, and a couple of other folks.
Okay,
So
very nice.
definitely a good operation down there. Um, so, at what point was there a particular point where your fandom kind of shifted and you got to thinking, I think I could do this?
It was probably when their NXT was getting that second buzz. So, not the initial, like the game show aspect and Nexus, but later
Right.
on, around 2013, where I was just trying to consume as much wrestling as I could. So, like, I'd watch Raw, I'd watch SmackDown, I'd go back, I find Saturday Morning Slam, main event, NXT, like, online, and watch that after it was aired or not aired, wherever it was put up. I'd watch the Saturday late night Ring of Honor that was on it. But when I saw NXT and that they were based out of Orlando, and I saw that there were training schools in Orlando, which is only a couple hours from where I grew up. And I was graduating from high school. I pretty much had my pick of Florida's colleges I could go to. I was like, well, UCF doesn't sound bad. I can go to school and I can start wrestling training. Sounds like a win-win.
Absolutely. So, I know that the physical side of this is obviously important. And you had mentioned that you had spent some time at the gym earlier today. So what exercise or group of exercises in particular do you feel is most pertinent to keeping Slade Porter Slade?
It's funny because when I train for wrestling, it's not even like the most fun workouts that I would typically do. I mean, one, just always working on your cardio is so vital, but like running isn't just going to be enough because when you're moving someone else's body, like just going on a treadmill doesn't really simulate that. So finding ways to get weights involved in explosive manners, I would say one of the best movements I found that really keeps my heart rate up, but also keeps me strength training is a clean and push press. Just grab a barbell, load that up, start with it near your hips, hinge and yank that up where you got it right in front of your shoulders, and then use that leg drive in order to press overhead. That's probably the number one exercise I could recommend to people who are in wrestling.
Gotcha. And, kind of on the flip side of that question, what exercise do you know is a necessity, but you dread doing the most?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever I don't know. I'm not like too stingy when it comes to exercises. If it's necessary, I do it. I mean, I just put my head down and get after that. I mean, I can't say I'm ever just like super excited if I have to do Bulgarian split squats or something, because that does require a good amount of balance and that leg strength. So, yeah, but no one
Gotcha.
likes those.
Gotcha. So, looking over at the Instagram chat, we've got several people already in the chat room. We've got Hendrik Osinga, Main Event Dame, Chris Page from CCP Podcasting is in the chat,
What up, Chris?
and I was noticing over in Twitch we've got No Game Unturned. So we've definitely got some folks showing up. So away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
So if I'm not wrestling, working out, spending time with my wife, the dogs, eating, sleeping, movies, love movies. You don't fall into being a private investigator in wrestling without taking that inspiration from somewhere else. So like any kind of detective movie, whether it's Gene Hackman in French Connection, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. I mean, I think that's a clear inspiration. And then even old like Sherlock Holmes stories, like those are all big. Those are all very big and what I enjoy consuming regularly.
Absolutely. So, we're mostly a wrestling related show, obviously, but we do dabble a bit into pop culture, and I'm always looking for recommendations. So, are you by any chance watching or listening to anything really cool right now?
So I don't. I mean, I don't have too much time for like TV. I just can't keep up with it, especially if I want to try to stay up with movies. Like I try to go to the theater at least once a week to see something new. Like last night, I went after training, saw that new movie Him. I'm not going to recommend that, but for recent movies, if you haven't seen Weapons, new horror movie by Zach Kreger, same guy who made Barbarian a few years ago, it's incredible. Like, and to see him not being the first one recently, with also being Jordan Peele, sketch comedian, going into making horror movies and then just knocking it out of the park. It really cool to see because he was one of the guys from Whitest Kids You Know, which was one of the funniest things I ever saw as a teenager.
Gotcha. So another outside of wrestling question, and that is outside of wrestling, what person inspires you the most and why?
I mean, it's gonna be the person I see the most often. That's my wife, Heather. Like she, smartest, funniest person I know. Definitely helps me stay grounded, but also stay motivated on the right path to do everything I need to do to be successful in wrestling or whatever it is I'm going for. So she's so supportive.
Absolutely. And, you know, my wife is exactly the same. I mean, we're you know, and I can tell you from the perspective of a guy that's been married almost 27 years, when you are with the right person, man, there's nothing like it. But it sounds like you know that.
Heck yeah.
Yep. So so I know that you're based in Orlando. What would you say is your favorite thing about Orlando?
Certainly not the traffic, so not gonna put that down. Um, Going back to movies, I really like that there's a Regal movie theater every like 5 to 10 miles, and they got that unlimited pass, so I can pop into the theater easily. Plenty of gyms to stop in. They're always offering a day pass, so even if you want to like change the scenery, that's good. Yeah, so I'm pretty
Gotcha.
simple, man.
So, what does your family in general think about all of this? What do they think about the fact that you're pursuing your wrestling dream?
Nah, who cares what they think? I try not to talk to them about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Not to like just throw that question out, but yeah, I got the support I need at home. That's what matters.
Yep, yep. So, you know, they say that the best wrestling personas are usually yourself turned up to 11. So, tell us about in ring Slade Porter and compare and contrast him with everyday you.
So yeah, as I kind of mentioned earlier, when it comes to the actual style of wrestling, I incorporate a lot of that grappling that I did come up with from like jujitsu, wrestling. I've definitely been able to hone it in more in wrestling than I ever did in either of those sports. And a lot of people are probably just like, well, how can you be like a private eye who seems like he's out of time, and that's naturally who you are. But again, I just love detective stories, anything noir. It's some of my favorite stuff to watch. Like Zodiac's one of my favorite movies of all time. As I mentioned, a lot of the Gene Hackman films. So being able to draw from that and pull that into wrestling, like that's very much who I am. I just take what I love, incorporate it into what's in the ring, and then I just try to let the probably the only thing that's like a little bit of a struggle is like you watch a lot of those movies and the investigator detective, he's such a straight man. He's just so it's like locked in on the end goal and getting the case solved. Whereas I'm very much like more of a goofball, more sarcastic, more humorous all the time. So finding that way to turn it just a little bit, put my own flavor on it in wrestling. So that would be the
Mm-hmm.
main difference.
Gotcha. You know, when I ran across you, I was definitely intrigued because you know, like you were saying, I love the old detective movies too, and somebody taking that and incorporating all of that into their wrestling persona, I was just like, right on. This is going to be fun. So, um, but before we press on, I'm actually going to make a quick announcement, and that is that I'm excited to announce the Throwdown's new partnership with Blackout Coffee. We had actually been looking for a while for a company to get into an affiliate partnership with, and we were looking for a company that makes a great product, but also a company with similar values to what we hold dear. And at the Throwdown, we also try to keep ourselves well caffeinated. And recently we ran across a tremendous company and found that Blackout Coffee fit the bill to a T in both aspects. Blackout Coffee was founded on the principles of conservative values, believing in the importance of hard work, personal responsibility, family, respect, and basically just traditional American values. And, in short, those values are the same ones that we embrace at the Throwdown and we wanted to associate ourselves with. And the coffee itself is actually produced in your neck of the woods in Florida. And it's typically roasted, packed, and shipped 24 to 48 hours after an order is placed. So, freshness is definitely a top priority. And, here's the really cool part. If you like flavorful coffee from a top-notch company, along with the potential to help the Throwdown to offset production costs and be able to continue bringing basically conversations with the best talent in independent wrestling, you can shop Blackout Coffee using the QR code on the screen. And they have whole bean coffee, ground coffee, instant coffee, K-Cups, along with a complete line of apparel and other merch for your coffee shopping pleasure. And you can use the coupon code Throwdown20 to get 20% off of your first order. So if you're a coffee person, definitely check out Blackout for all of your coffee needs. And so moving along to the next question, tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts? Let's hear about the very first one.
My very first match was in just the greatest, the most prestigious of all venues outside in 100-degree heat of the Orlando fairgrounds. So no better place to be wrestling. No tent, no coverage, nothing. Just the
Just
burning
heat.
sun. It was during Earth Day birthday, so that heavy rock concert that they put on in April. And just remember letting the sun beat down on me, letting my opponent beat down on me, and being like, all right, it's only up from here.
Pretty much, yep. So, we've heard about the first one. Now, if you can narrow it down, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
I would definitely say it would come from a handful of what's been going on this year as I found who I want to be in wrestling. I feel like I've taken my skill to the highest level it's been at so far. If I picked one, it would be from CCW about a month ago. I wrestled Sean Maluda in Tampa, and that footage will probably be going up on YouTube pretty soon. I had never met Sean prior to this show, but he just had a very easygoing, open, loving energy about him, and we were just able to have a great match, had a lot of fun, and definitely came away from it. I know I made a friend out of it. Hopefully he feels the same.
Absolutely. So, what is the longest distance you have traveled to get to a match?
It almost would be this past weekend. Almost. Rode in a car. There was 4 of us. We went. Well, it started off on Friday. I went from here to Tampa for Mero Pro. So I mean that's not 2 hours. That's nothing. But then we picked up Jules Bradley in around Gainesville area, and from there it was about 15 hours to Elmwood, Illinois. You know Elmwood, Illinois, right? No, of course not. No one knows Elmwood, Illinois. It's about an hour and a half south of Davenport, Iowa. It's probably about 2 hours from both St. Louis and Chicago, just middle of nowhere. From front door of my house to that community center we're at was 17 hours, and we just drove up, knocked out the show, came back. but the furthest I've ever gone actually beats that. Believe it was 2017. I did Mr. Chainsaw Pro Wrestling. It was in Northern Michigan. Not Michigan couldn't be enough. It was in Northern Michigan. I was still that was my first stint living in Orlando at the time. I drove up to Indianapolis 14 hours by myself. I think after a work shift. Got in the car with the guys, and we drove another 6 hours, so 20 in total to get it to this show. And I think even then it was just to work like a 6-man tag. Only thing I really remember about it, besides the show, like drew great, but it was because it was one of Cody Rhodes' first shows after he hit the Indies initially.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And did you say the promotion was called Mr. Chainsaw?
Mr. Chainsaw Pro Wrestling. I didn't see a chainsaw. I wasn't introduced to anyone named Mr. or Mrs. Chainsaw, so I don't know. I mean,
Interesting.
I'd come back. I'd come back. Dude, maybe I'll fly this time though.
Yeah, yeah. So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure you have them because everybody does. But what is your biggest in-ring pet peeve?
Oh man. I mean, I try not to let things get to me too much, but really just when the crowd is like clearly dictating one thing, whether it's a pacing or what have it, and then someone is just so obsessed with just hitting their cool moves and then just doing that, and it's just like that doesn't dictate a reaction. It doesn't dictate a good match. It's the crowd will tell you if you're having a good match, and those who don't listen to the crowd, they're doomed.
Gotcha. So, if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
I guess I go great on the mic because I feel like there's always a job for someone in wrestling who's great on the mic, and then even if it's not wrestling, it just happens to bottom out, and wrestling doesn't work out in any capacity. You can be great on the mic and succeed in some form of media, some form of entertainment.
Gotcha. So, do you have a preference yourself between working heel or babyface?
Well, working babyface generally makes you more money when it comes to merchandise sales at the table, so that's always great. But going back to what we had just talked about with the pet peeves, I do like working heel because then I can dictate the pace of the match. I can be the one I'm more say takes over, listens to the crowd, and be like, all right, this is where we need to go. Let's slow it down here. Take our time with this. All right, let's get this. Let's try this again. Yeah. So probably
Right.
I guess I'll push finances to the side for a moment. Final answer heel.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. My wife is actually a relatively new wrestling fan. I've she knew I'd been a fan all of this time, and over the time that I've been doing these live streams, she's actually picked up an interest to the point that she is now within reason watching it with me. And so I was explaining to her recently that typically the heel is the one actually running the match, and she was just fascinated by that. She was like, why? And I'm like, well, I don't entirely know why, but that's a kind of tradition. The heel is generally coordinating the match. And yeah, she just thought that was really interesting.
So for her being a relatively new fan, you being a longtime fan, who are each of your like current favorite wrestlers? Because I think that's interesting to see from someone who's been watching for a while and someone who's just like who they gravitate towards on just first perception.
Well, my wife actually is really digging this return of AJ Lee right now. Um, and interestingly enough, when AJ was having her initial run, that was a period of my life that I was actually largely checked out of wrestling. So, I had seen a lot of her stuff on the web, but this is really my first experience myself seeing AJ kind of as it happened. So I'm really enjoying that right now. I happen to be wearing this shirt. I'm a huge Killer Cross fan, and I'm excited to see what's coming for him. As far as the male wrestlers go, my wife actually really likes Cody these days. But you know, but she's not terribly picky. Well, she also has a thing for Finn Balor. I'll say that much.
Understandable.
Yeah, yeah. My wife definitely digs Finn. And I'm actually a big fan of Adam Cole, and I'm hoping that he is able to recover from these renewed concussion issues or whatever is going on. But you know, the important thing is his health. So I mean, if he
Right.
ends up having to hang it up, you've got to take care of yourself. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's very scary what's going on with Cole, and yeah, I wish him
It
well.
is. Yeah, I actually had a guest on a while back that went through the training with CZW, up in Pennsylvania, and was actually in the same training class with Adam Cole, and was just talking about what just a good human being that guy is. So hearing that kind of stuff, it makes you again really hope for good things for the guy. So in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who would you say are some of your influences?
Huh. Uh, that's a very interesting question because I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is my slip up, and in that I don't study a lot of promos. Actually, until you asked, I didn't even consider like I had someone else like, all right, I'm gonna watch their promos so closely, and their cadence, how they deal with the audience, all that. I mean, mainly because there's a difference between like the television promos you see so much of, where they're in ring and they're talking to the camera, but they're also talking to the crowd, and the opportunity for an independent wrestler to have one of those is so few and far between. Whereas, most of my stuff is just me in front of the camera trying to tell a story. So that's where I just fall back on what I take from movies and try to watch mannerisms from actors in film and use them as my main source of inspiration. Uh, like one small thing that an Easter egg I throw in is if you ever watch the show Scrubs, uh, John C. McGinley's character, Dr. Cox, he's always flicking his nose. Not because he has a cocaine addiction or anything. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like a little like mannerism tick he has, and I love that show. I love that character. So that's just something that I bring. Like when I'm in the ring or in the promo, you'll just see me do that, just because it's a small thing that's different, but it's humanizing.
Yeah. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Is there a match that you find yourself, it's like comfort food, you find yourself going back to it and it never really gets old and there's always some new little something you can pull from it?
I'm actually the same way with my wrestling matches, like I am with movies. Right? If I have my favorites, and but my favorite movies, I'll only rewatch like once every 2 years because I'm always trying to consume something new, and that's how I am with wrestling. So even my favorite matches, I probably have only watched especially the longer ones, anything that gets over like 25 minutes, a few times. But I recently rewatched Shawn and Kurt from WrestleMania 21,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say going right now that's my favorite match. There's especially a point towards the end where Shawn's just in the ankle lock for what feels like forever, and he's just fighting. He's not tapping. He's passing out. He's getting back up. He's reaching. He's pressing up. He goes to kick Kurt off. Kurt holds on to the ankle lock. He goes to kick him off again. He's got to get him off this time. No, he's still on. And I think he's in the ankle lock for like 3 minutes. Before he finally submits to it, realizes that he just can't get out, and like that really stuck with me.
Yep. Shawn was such an amazing worker. I mean, he could handle working with virtually any style and make it work, and that's really a gift.
Yeah, that would dream match that will never happen. So,
but so looking over at the Instagram chat again, we've got a couple more people that have joined. We've got Striker L Force and we've got Spartan of Pain.
Lightning Force is here. We got Striker in the chat. What's up, boy?
Yep.
That's my champ. That's my
nice
champ. I don't care what they say. He's still my champ.
Nice. You kind of asked me a version of this question just a few minutes ago, so I'm going to ask you, at this very moment, in your opinion, who are the best male and best female wrestlers in the world?
When it comes to the women, I think Bianca Belair just so incredibly athletic, gifted, talented, and strong in a sense of like it's never. I don't know if one of like the super athletes of the women's division has ever quite been able to like put it together and have her mental warehouse in the ring quite as her. Like she just is the complete package. And then also I just always, ever since Asuka came to WWE, loved her. Like especially how she utilizes her size, but her intensity in the ring is something that I've always pulled from. I mean, I feel like I've always said like I'm about the average size of a wrestler as I come. Maybe I put on more muscle over the years, but I'm 5'9", about 190, like pretty basic build. So being able to see someone who's able to use that intensity on the guy's side, same thing with like Roderick Strong was a guy I gravitated towards early on with how just aggressive and intense he was. I know you mentioned how your wife likes Finn Balor. I was watching some of his early New Japan stuff recently, and just seeing how like he just always had a swagger to him, which is a great way to portray in the ring. My number one right now, and I know he's probably been my number one for like the last few years, and I know he's had a bad run of injuries, but when we talk about intensity and aggression and doing things and never making it look like it's fake is Ilya Dragunov.
Oh yeah. I've been hearing that he is on the verge of a return, but it has yet to materialize, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully he's healing up well and he'll be able to get back soon, because you can just tell that he's one of those guys where this means everything to him.
Yeah. I was mentioning my wife again and her love for Finn Balor. I was telling her about his days in Japan and basically starting Bullet Club and all that and we haven't watched any of his Japan stuff yet, but I feel like that's probably coming, and I'm actually excited for her to see that side of Finn, you
Right.
know,
He was a
because
wrestler.
it
He was a wrestler sponsored by Armani Exchange. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't get cooler than that.
No, very, very cool. So, you had mentioned Shawn Michaels as being a possible, dream opponent, but present day or past, aside from Shawn, who would be some other dream opponents? Who would Slade Porter love to share a ring with?
Someone I just mentioned, and also it's funny now because more personal reasons to it. Like Roderick Strong would be a great match to have. Ziggler, Nick Nemeth would be someone I'd love to get in there with. Being like, man, I want to see how someone I'm not afraid to consider the best seller of all time, how he would look taking the patella punch. So yeah, there's a couple for sure. I want to get in there with Timothy Thatcher. I know.
Oh yeah,
I know he'd beat the crap out of me, but it'd be worth it.
It'd be fun. Yeah. Speaking of Roderick Strong, I don't know if you caught this past week's AEW and the little confrontation between Roddy and Marina Shafir. That was hilarious because she was trying not to laugh. She was trying to hold character, and she was bless her heart, she was having such a hard time trying to mean mug him.
Yeah, I wonder where they even go from that. It's like some Grease type scenario where lovers being torn apart by their opposite teams.
Right. Well, what was interesting is, there was no mention by the commentary staff that there was any relationship between them. So, I mean, I don't know if they're planning on taking it anywhere further. But it was just kind of a funny moment.
Which I find kind of odd, right? Because it's like, why would you have that moment if you're not going to speak on it? Because either the crowd knows and it's like, oh, and then you'd want to play it up, or the crowd doesn't know, and then you don't say anything, and it's just like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, it's just like a little Easter egg that's in there for those of us that do know.
Right. But I'm just a fan of make everything mean something. So.
Oh, I agree. And trying to piece together breadcrumbs into a discernible story is, to me, kind of fun. So anyway, so of your cohorts that are out on the indies, in your opinion, who has the best walkout? Who presents themselves in the most unique way on their way to the ring?
Whew, man. All right, don't catch me acting like I don't watch my friends' matches, because I do. I mean, you're automatically going to earn brownie points with me if there's a banner for the promotion, through the curtain, and you actually just stop and you take your few seconds to stand there, before you go on. Let that lower third with your name and your social media handle, your graphic hit before you go on. So anyone who does that, hey, you've got a great entrance. Okay, someone who always impressed me with their entrance, Saeed Al-Sabah comes out to that J. Cole song and never fails to impress me. Raise the beat drops. How he'll be on the floor, he'll look at the crowd, and then immediately just pivots and dives through the middle and bottom rope. And was like, nails it every time. Super clean. Yeah, Saeed always gets a good reaction out of me for his entrance.
Gotcha. So what is your favorite move? What is something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you won't do or you would at least rather not do? And that can be giving or receiving.
I'm going to combine those first. My favorite move that I absolutely do not do because of how sketchy it is, but I love it every time, is the Steiner screwdriver. The
Yeah.
suplex lift,
Oh yeah.
drop them into the sit out tombstone. I mean, it is probably the grossest looking move there is.
Oh, it
And
looks like murder.
yeah, I saw it once on the Indies, and that was enough. Um, but favorite moves, kind of a slut for suplex variations. So you do anything that's not not traditional like snap. Like even if I see a good like fisherman's thrown out, I'll break out the teardrop suplex occasionally as my ode to Shawn Michaels because my hips don't work like that. I'm not throwing a super kick. Moves that I don't like, whether it's like too like or I'm just like I'm just not a fan. Um, there's what was that? The I think it's like the Phoenix suplex. You know which one I'm talking about? You get him up,
Yeah.
you package them up like a power bomb, but you tuck their neck in and you bridge back into the
Yeah.
suplex with them. I think one of the Japanese guys like some years back broke his neck on it, and I was like, well, yeah, that was gonna happen eventually. So
Yeah.
that thing, never taken that move.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You know, as a fan, and you really don't see this much anymore, but as a fan, a move that always gives me the shivers when I see it being set up for is the vertebreaker.
Yep,
Because that just looks like there are so many ways that could go catastrophically wrong.
yes.
and um, and like I said, you don't see it much these days, and there's probably a good reason for that, you know. But like back during the Monday Night Wars, during the Attitude Era, especially in WCW, they were handing out vertebreakers like candy. You know,
Right.
I mean,
And it was kind of one thing when Helms was doing it because Helms is like I think he's like 6 foot, like he's
yeah,
not a small guy, and then you see Homicide do it, and I think Homicide might be my height or even a little shorter, and I'm just like. And just the way the anatomy of it, I'm like, oh, that one looks risky because you feel like if you're gonna take it, you want the guy given to you to be taller. That way, there's more torso space. You can crunch
yeah,
up a little bit more, try to sit up with it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's another one. Not in any rush to take.
Yep, yep, yep. So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure this applies to one degree or another. And so I'll ask, what hurts right now?
My pride? No. And not too bad. I actually got a massage on Monday for the first time like 3.5 years because I spoke about having an injury that wasn't wrestling related when I was off from wrestling. So I got a massage. That felt super nice. So nothing's really too bad. I can't complain about anything.
Very good. So you mentioned this non-wrestling injury. What happened to you?
So I think it was just a weird incident of just doing too much in the gym. It was actually, so my wife and I were still living in St. Louis at the time, but we had come down this way in Orlando for our wedding. And we were driving back, about a 14-hour drive back. We both of us we're good at driving long distances. From my wrestling, she's just good at locking in. And we drove all the way back. Uh, that's a lot of time to spend in the car. The next day, I had a heavy leg day in the gym, and it went fine. It went fine. I was
Hmm.
doing squats. I was doing deficit deadlifts. It was really fine. But I did a program that it was just too much, and it was already like the next day. There was like another variation of deadlifts to do. And I'm not one of those people just like, oh, the deadlift is a scary movement. But at that point, I'd been going hard with heavy weightlifting for like a year. trying to consistently max out like every 2 to 3 months, and my lower back, like I didn't like feel like a surge or a pop, but it was like, oh, like right when I started like my warm up, I was like, oh, it doesn't feel good, and I tried to push through it. Like I tried to push through it. And I was like, I'm just sore. Like you're gonna work through this. You'll train it out of you, which was so stupid. Ended up having like I think it was like just a severely herniated or bulging disc that I just kept putting strain on. Eventually rehabbed from that, but went back to the gym, went back to heavy lifting far too quickly. And because I some of those deeper, like there's muscles that are located deep underneath your glutes called the deep six muscles, not to be confused with the Baron Corbin move. Uh, and I believe it was my piriformis. I remember I had just squatted and I was doing deadlifts, and it wasn't even like a heavy weight for me, but I came up out of the rep and it felt like Velcro tearing apart,
Mm.
like deep in my right glute, and it wasn't like this astronomical pain, but it was just like, yep, that was wrong. I am done. Definitely hurt more like the next day, and it was one of those things where it's like I should have just like stayed laid up on the couch for like 3 months. But I kept trying to push through it, and that injury, this is the second part of the injury, that like tear in the piriformis, that was nearly 3 years ago now. And while like I feel like I'm in great shape, nothing hurts to this day down the back right of my leg. So the glutes down to the hamstring, down to the calf. The lower it goes, the less muscle activation I get. Like the nerves aren't firing correctly. So like I have a little bit of atrophy in my right calf compared to my left. My right hamstring after 3 years of training is just about up to the same strength as the left. The glutes are about even now. But yeah, just one of those things where it's just like that's just something I live with now. Nothing too serious. Nothing that stops me from wrestling, but it's just like crap. Because I was actually at a point where I wasn't wrestling. I didn't have any like major focuses. I was just working, going to movies as I mentioned, and I was getting to
Hmm.
that point where it's just like I was getting strong, like really strong in the gym. I was like, maybe I'll do a powerlifting competition soon. I was approaching like 3 times my deadlift weight to my body weight. So I was like, maybe this is something
Wow.
that would actually be possible. And then that happened, and then it's just that idea has been derailed for 3.5 years now.
So, what is the worst bump you have taken in your wrestling career?
Okay, so I mean, when you say bump, it sounds intentional, right? Like I'm supposed to land like flat on my back. But the worst thing I'd ever taken was I and I'm not going to bury the guy because I love him, and it was years ago. He's doing great now. He apologized. It was a slip up, but that Finn Balor move, actually, that Bloody Sunday, that 1916, took
Yeah.
that. I did not get over on it at all, and just like
Ooh,
top of my head. And fortunately enough, that like a neck stinger was the worst thing I've experienced in 7 years of wrestling. I'll take it.
absolutely. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling, specifically indie wrestling?
It's tough because it's kind of like how people always make the joke now about how, oh, well, no one really has cable anymore, but you got this streaming service. You got ESPN, Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, and it's all like gonna be bundled together again as like one big cable provider. And it's like how social media is. There's too much to see everywhere to where everything gets watered down. And there was a peak like 10 years ago on social media where like if you were decent at it and you're posting content regularly that just didn't suck, you were going to get recognized and you were going to find some sort of benefit of it. But now it's just like it's hard. It's hard to break through these algorithms and the content of
Hmm.
everyone. So, I mean, it's a feels like it's a fair enough competition, because you see guys like Ben Bishop who are able to stay entertaining and have their stuff out. Richard Holiday's another one who's been able to like master the marketing game of wrestling. So
Matt Cardona.
yeah, of course, Cardona. So it does inspire hope. Yeah, and it allows us to be entertainers whenever we want to. You don't have to wait till the weekend, so that's fun.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to bring this topic up just because it is a bone of contention and a bone of controversy in the business right now. And that is, what is your take on WrestleMania 43 being announced for Saudi Arabia?
I mean, definitely not going to help the independents with WrestleMania week that over there, is it?
Not at all. Not at all.
Not that WrestleMania week's been what it was 10 years ago, especially ever since I went to 2 nights. But I have not put enough thought into thinking about how the analytics of the money that WWE will get from that may inspire great changes or great progress going forward. It's not like there's going to be like a trickle down economics effect of them getting all this Saudi money and it going down to the indies. But
yeah,
sure, make your money, I guess.
But yeah, it just I've hated seeing WWE under TKO turning into just what seems like just such a money-oriented thing. I mean, granted, they're a business; they're in the business of making money. But there comes a point where you've got to balance that between, to some extent, serving the people that got you to the place that you are, and by doing all of these Saudi shows and raising ticket prices to where the average person can't come out to a show anymore is just I don't know. It's just a lack of respect, and I just feel like to some extent they've lost touch with the common man, so to speak.
Wait, should we be angry or should we be scared that they're going to such means of trying to rake in money? Like, is it out of greed or is it out of desperation?
Well, that's a good question. It may be a little bit of both. They're maybe feeling like they have to strike while the iron is hot and get as much money as they can because, who knows what the future holds. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I got my own business to worry about right now. They can do their thing.
Yeah. Yep. So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
This is actually something I tell wrestlers all the time, is that just never stop training. That was something that I was just so naive about early on, where I thought as I was working shows, traveling, and not to say like I wasn't busy, I was going to college, I was working a job, I was traveling to the Midwest and back by myself every weekend. And I thought working a couple shows, that was enough, game time prep that I would progress. But no, you have to slow it down, break it down, watch the film, have someone who's not going to coddle you, tell you what you need to work on, what you need to improve on, what you need to do again. So just keep training. If you love wrestling, it's not hard to do, and it's going to benefit you.
Absolutely. So do you have any pre-show traditions, any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
I always try to take a dump before my match.
That's good policy.
Yeah, don't want it slipping out in the ring. Besides that, I mean, I stretch, I get loose, try to get like grab one of the exercise bands, get a pump on. You know, you're on camera, you're in front of a crowd. We're trying to present this as we're athletic performers, so trying to look at my peak. But I mean, for me, there's no prayer, there's no mantra, there's nothing like that.
Gotcha. So just a quick rundown. What all do you carry in your gear bag? And do you carry anything unique or unusual?
So standard stuff with me, like everything I wear to the ring, uh, little bit of cocoa butter, baby lotion to try to shine a little bit more under the lights. What's in there that maybe a little? I don't think I'm bringing anything weird. Maybe occasionally a book on a really long trip. Yeah, no, nothing too strange. Or at least something that's too strange to me. So maybe I've just slipped so far into the insane I don't even recognize what's.
Gotcha. So, if you have one, what would you say is your favorite venue to wrestle in?
Anyone with air conditioning definitely gets a bump up. I mean, I haven't wrestled here in years. You might actually know about it because it's in Atlanta. It's called, or it was called, I don't know if it's still around because again, it's been years. It was called Opera Nightclub.
Yes, I've never been there, but I'm familiar with it, and I know that it was definitely an active venue back in the day. I'm not sure if it is currently still in operation or not, but
Yeah.
I am at least somewhat familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, and then setting a scene for the people listening. I worked there for Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, so it was wooden dance floor, bar on either side, and when you walk straight on, there's a stage up on the stage, big DJ booth with LED lights on it. On either side of that DJ booth on the stage was a winding staircase upwards, and up top was where the wrestling locker room was. So with the lighting, you couldn't really like look and see the wrestlers in there, but the wrestlers could there was enough lighting they could look down on you. It was like that Twilight meme of the vampires looking down all haughty toddy. So just coming down those stairs onto the stage. The way AWE wouldn't do chairs, so that not doing chairs, not doing guardrails is a risk, absolutely, but it definitely creates an atmosphere that gets the fans more engaged, more ravenous, which I always enjoyed.
Gotcha. So something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. So a previous guest was an Atlanta-based wrestler named Jimmy Darren, and he is also a ring gear designer. And the question that he posed is, what is the worst set of ring gear that you have seen?
Worst I've seen, I mean, it's the gear that's not gear, it's a pair of lifting shorts. But I'm trying to think something that someone actually created for the ring, which is like, yeah, this is it. I mean, those like trash bag pants of the early 2000s, like the ones Punk used to wear, you'd see on a lot of IWA shows. Those were so bad, but there's also like a nostalgia with them that I don't want to hate on too much. I'm trying to think, have I seen anything recently that was so awful? Probably, but I try to block it out of my mind. But yeah, just get gear, make it at least look like gear. That's important.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always, I don't get it when, on Halloween night, usually toward the end of the evening, you'll get some teenagers coming to the door in just street clothes. They're not even making the effort.
Yeah.
But they want candy. And it's like, no.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. Yep. At least, put out the effort.
I still like getting dressed up for Halloween. I still
Oh,
find
yeah.
something to do every year, even if no one sees it but me. It's just a picture to post.
Absolutely. So, since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to pose to the next guest?
Yeah, sure. We can workshop something here. Uh, it's tough coming up with this off the top of my head.
Well, if you can't come up with anything at the moment, you can always message me with something, if something occurs to you later. So don't feel like you're necessarily completely on the spot right now.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a mixed tag match, but it wasn't two humans?
That's interesting.
Yeah. See, maybe a wrestler and a dog teaming up against another wrestler and a dog. What a match! Book it. Let's book it.
Have you ever run across such a thing?
No. But it'd be cool.
That would be very cool. I like it. Instead of intergender, you could call it interspecies. I mean,
well, hang on a second. Might have to put a not safe for work warning on that video.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
Might end up on the wrong websites.
Yeah. Who knows what algorithms would get a hold of that and take you places you don't want to go.
Oh dear.
So, so we're getting pretty much toward the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or social media or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
Yeah, it's actually perfect. This Friday in Fort Myers, Real Pro Wrestling. They're one of the first places that ever booked me going back 10 years ago. They're doing a suicide awareness benefit show. So anyone who's able to come out in the Fort Myers area or just able to donate to the foundation that they're promoting, that's big. And then so that's Friday, and then Saturday I'll be in Seminole, Florida, so by Tampa for Total Aggression Pro Wrestling.
Nice. And I totally dig the cause for that first show. Suicide prevention is such an important cause, and anytime you can bring attention or fundraising to a topic like that, it's definitely a positive.
Yes, yeah, very vital. Just let people know that they are loved. Things are going to get better. Just keep on.
Absolutely. And, I know also that you are participating in the Genesis show on November 22nd and that you are going to be taking on Alex Bryant. Do you have any thoughts on that show and any words for Mr. Bryant in advance of your clash?
So that's actually a very interesting contest that just came about recently. I've been looking forward to wrestling Alex Bryant since I had first seen him in North Carolina at FWE. And while I am focused on closing the case on Alex Bryant getting the win there, I know that the threat of Matthew Ennis looms because at FWE North Carolina, I'm the number one contender for his light heavyweight title, and Alex Bryant was the man that he had last defended the title against. So I don't know if Ennis is going to be looming as that match takes place, if I'll have to have eyes in the back of my head while it's happening. So I'm going to
Very
have to
possible.
take notes and be on my A game for that.
Very possible. I've had Mr. Ennis on the show previously, and he is quite the character.
That boy's just not right.
Well, as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, let me back up a little bit here. This Saturday, the 27th at noon, which is it's kind of an unusual day and time for us, but we've got episode 157 coming up, and I've got Matt Charlton with Shining Wizard Designs. And if you're not familiar with this guy's work, you definitely need to look him up. He is a very talented artist, and he has captured some of the most iconic moments in the history of wrestling with his art with amazing detail. And the guy is a lifelong fan, and he is also the brother of New Japan Wrestling's Chris Charlton. So it should be an amazing conversation, and we're doing it on the weekend at an early time because Matt is based in Europe. So in order to make the time difference work, we decided to do it on a weekend. So anyway, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It should be a lot of fun, and his art is just amazing. And then on Monday, the 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got a rescheduled episode 155. And my guest is going to be pro wrestler El Payaso Enigmatico. And this guy is doing some really unique stuff on his social media with his vignettes, doing a lot of slow burn storytelling and lore building. Really some interesting stuff can be found on his socials, and I'm curious to see where it's all going. It's actually some pretty trippy stuff. And then next Friday, October 3rd, I can't believe we're almost in October already. At 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got episode 158, and my guest is going to be a wrestler that is actually out of my original home state of Texas, Chris Chaos. And this is a guy that our buddy Chris Page of CCP Podcasting turned me on to, and I've taken a look at some of this guy's stuff, and he definitely has a bright future ahead of him, and I'm excited to have him on the show and hear his story and what his plans for the future are. So before we wrap all of this up, Slade, do you have any final words for the audience?
Hey, if you ever need someone to solve a case for you, you need information that you're just not able to find yourself, call your friendly neighborhood private eye, Slade Porter, because I always get my man. And I got a sloth to find.
A sloth?
Yep.
What's the story with the sloth?
There's been a missing slothy at the House of Champions for a year now. So it's this anthropomorphic sloth that is just, he's the mascot of the Hawk. He was a very gentile, docile, just genuine being, and he's gone missing. But
well, I'm sure if anybody can find him, it's the private eye.
Friday, they should be dropping the latest show on YouTube, so you can find out who the kidnapper is.
Nice. I will definitely be checking that out. But anyways, Slade, thank you for your time. This has been a blast. And, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays on the web and such, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until Saturday at noon with Matt Charlton of Shining Wizard Designs, be good to each other,